Hello viewers, welcome to the YouTube channel and this is your host Sushil Shalot. You are listening me every time in a new video with new topic and interesting topic which is of great use and worth of yours. Thanks for subscribing the channels, and in case if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe the channel and keep watching the videos, keep excelling your knowledge. Well, in this video we are going to learn something that is very basic but very important in Excel, that is cell reference. Well, as I take you through this video, I'll be talking more and more over cell reference and explaining you what is cell reference and how is it useful in Excel for any kind of function or any kind of application in Excel. Well, there are three cell references: fixed, mixed, and relative. Subsequently, I'll explain you what is this, and this is what is the context that I'm going to cover in this video. And let's get on to the Excel workbook and look out what are these things. So well, if you see now right now, if you see the cursor, I have been pointing out the cursor in this cell, and this cell is nothing else but, as you see here, very much it is referenced as A1. Well, there are columns and rows in Excel, and every cell is referenced by a column and a row. So the columns, as we all know, are named with alphabets and combination of alphabets, whereas the rows are numbered in digits, and digit starts from 1 up to whatever it is, with the variations in the revisions of Excel and new variants or new revisions of Excel popping up and coming every now and then. These numbers have been changing every now and then. Just like we have a latitude and longitude on a globe or a place location on this planet, the same way in Excel we have got a referencing of a cell, a unique reference of a cell denoted by the column and the row. For example, if I go over here and see how many columns are there, well, there are columns from column A to column XFD, and if I go to the bottom and check how many rows are there, there are 1048576. So in easy language, if I talk in an Indian counting manner, it is 10,48,576, or in other words, 1,048,576. So if you make this matrix and make the multiplication of the number of columns into number of rows, those many cells are available in an Excel worksheet in a given workbook. You can have multiple worksheets as well. So I don't think any of us, any of the user of Excel will find this to be small or short. Well, let's get on to our main topic, back to the origin, and there it is, I'm back to the cell A1. Well, on screen you see the cell references, as I have mentioned, are named as absolute, mixed, and relative. In the description, you can very well read out that in absolute cell, both column and row are made non-variable. For example, if I want to say, for example, I want to make this cell as absolute, what I can do is I can mention this cell as, I'm going to use the text format here, is equal to dollar. Dollar is what is being used, dollar B and dollar 7. This is what I have done manually. So if I say enter, there it is. And in case if I remove this, it says this is a circular referencing and it is referencing to itself. So what I have done here is, now you see I have made this cell as a absolute one, and if I pull it down, there it is in the next cell also. Now it is referencing as is equal to $b $7. So if at all I go over here and say a value, say 20, and say enter, the next cell also becomes 20. So now it is referencing. So cell B8 is referring to cell B7, and cell B8 is stated to be is equal to absolute B7. So that's why we see $2 over there. Fine. So this is how the absolute cell is referred. Now what is mixed cell? Now mixed cell is something like, if I go over here and take this cell as B7 is equal to 20, and if I go to the cell say C7 and if I want to reference it, but well, I just want to carry on something that is either a column or a row, I can do that. So here I can say is equal to, say for example, if I say $B and only 7 and say enter. So there it is, it has copied up, or it has a reference to B7 as B with dollar, that is the column B is fixed and the row 7 is variable. So if I further drag on this over to the right side, if I drag it to the right side, there it is again, I see 20 and here it is $B 7. But well, if I drag it down from here to the next row, you can very well see now it is referencing to $B 8. So for example, if I go over here and write a value, say 30, there it is. So now it is referencing to the column B, row 8. So column B remained constant over here as I varied it, and the row went on varying. If I pull it to the right side, if I happen to pull this to the right side, again it is referencing to $B and 8. That is how it is. So when I pull the cell to the right, the column should by default change. But here I have locked it with $B, and so it is not going to change even if I pull it to the right. Had I done it the other way around, so for example, if I had done it as B remaining available or possible to vary, and if I had written B$7, it would have meant the same value over here, but when it would have pulled up to the right, it would have meant C$7. So there it is. So if I had I put in B7 plus say 30, the value would have changed to 50, and then referencing this to C$7, it would have become 50. Well friends, this is how a mixed one is to be used. And relative. Relative is quite very simple. Here, neither the column nor the row are made nor variable. That means both column and row are made variable. It means the same in both the cases. So let us get on to this topic of understanding a relative referencing. So had I put in a referencing here as, say for example, only B7, what would happen? Well, it's quite simple. With this referencing as B7, and had I pulled it down, it would have again referred to B8. Here, neither the column is fixed nor the row. And so, as I pulled it down, the row got changed from B7 to B8. And had I pulled it to the right, by default, the column should get changed. So here, if I go here and see, it becomes a reference as is equal to C7. So this is relative. So neither the column nor the row are fixed. Both are variable. So whichever direction we pull it, the corresponding column or row will vary. Well friends, with this introduction and this simple example on your screen, I have made you understand as to what is cell referencing, how many rows, how many columns are available, how are the columns numbered or configured or defined, and how are the rows numbered. And then I explain you how cell referencing is done as absolute, mixed and relative. This is very simple thing, very common and basic thing in Excel, but well, when the application comes into picture, I have seen expert users getting confused as to how to reference it. Here is a demonstration on our screen wherein I have used to compute a junior employee's salary for 5 years starting from year 2010 to 2014, and for this junior exam employee's salary, the monthly salary, the annual salary and the annual increment salary has been computed here, and then based on the inputs that the year has got 12 months and the superior's salary is 5% more than the junior, managers is 10% and senior managers 15%. Using these inputs I have computed it. If I go over here and see, I have used a function here called count A, and with that count A I have used cell referencing as well. There it is on your screen. So if you see here in the first cell here, I have used $A, $2. That means the cell A2 has been absolute or a fixed one. Whereas the cell in the next part of it, if you see in the next part of it, the cell A2 is very much relative and available for any kind of variation. That means the variation in the column as well as row. So here I have given an example on screen as to how the referencing can be done. Well, let me explain you how this referencing can be done. If I go to the next worksheet, here the inputs are the same as I explained you. So that means superior salary will be 1.05 times the salary of the junior, managers will be 1.1 time, and senior manager will be 1.15. So let's get on to the task of using the cell referencing with some example, very simple ones. I'm not going to use any complex functions here because the intention of this video is to bring to your notice how cell referencing is done and how it can be used. So here, if I go into the serial number cell A4, there I used a function is equal to count A. Count A counts a non-empty cell. So here it is, how it's counting. I've given this logic in my different videos of count and others. I'll explain you once again. So in this cell, what I have done is I used the function count A. Then the first portion of it I have used is $A $3. So what does this do is this references the first cell. It is fixed cell $A $3, and then the next thing what it does is from A3 onwards it goes on counting. Well, so what does it do is it counts from $A to $3, and whatever is not empty it counts and returns back here. So how did I do that? Let me give you a demo here. I'll say is equal to count A, count count A. Then what did I do? I took the reference of the cell itself and I have given the reference to the cell itself once again. So what I have done is I have used the colon and given A3 again. While I did that, I went back to this portion, first part of it, and I used the key function F4. Function F4 key can be used to convert the cell into a fixed cell or a relative cell. If I go on continuously using this function F4 key, it will subsequently go on to the next option. Now the next option here is you see $3. That means the row 3 has been locked. The column A is free to change or to vary. If I use it again, function F4, it goes to the next option, that is $A. That means the column is locked and the row 3 is available for variation. I go to the next option again. There it is A3. Now none of them has got a dollar in front of it. That means it has become relative. And this is the third option. And if I again use the function F4 key, I go back to the fixed option. In this way, you can choose which of the options is of your use and go ahead further to finalize the cell referencing. Now you see, now I have defined count A from a range $A3 to A3. That means what it is going to do is first thing it is going to count is A3 up to A3. Now why I did keep the first cell as fixed is now I'm going to pull down this cell and create my serial number using this counter function. So what do I need is the first cell needs to remain fixed and then the next cells as I pull it down. So now A3 when I pull down next time it will become A4 and subsequently it will go on to A5, A6 and so on and so forth. That means what it will do is, let me give you a demo here. I'll first pull this cell down and there it is. Now what it has done, let's go to this cell A5 and see what it has done. So the function count A, now what it does is with the first portion of this $A $3, that means with the fixed cell it goes on counting the subsequent cells in the range and the range here is up to A4 in this cell. So now what it does is it counts A3 and then A4, that means the count returns the value 2. The next cell returns 3, 4 and 5. That way I have done. Now if I go to the next column, that is column B, here the cell value is 2010. If I want to count or if I want to go to the next year of the salary increment, what I will do here is I'll go over here. I'm going to go and choose this cell. Now I don't want to keep it relative. I want to keep it locked. So I'm going to use the function F4 key. I have made the cell fixed. And now what I'm going to say is I'm going to say plus and I'm going to use this cell as A4. And now what it will do is now it will take up the value from $B $4, that is value 2010, and plus A4, the value from A4 is 1. That means the increment of 1 year is here. The same thing now I'm going to pull down this cell and the subsequent years have popped up. So friends, here I explained you how I have used a fixed cell plus a relative cell. In the first one, I have used the fixed cell and a relative cell for defining a range. Here I have used it for defining a summation. Now what next? The monthly salary of this guy is 15,000. Whatever is the currency, for our ease of understanding, I'll put up the currency as English rupees or Indian rupees, and subsequently all these values I'm going to round off to the first decimal or zero after decimal. Fine. So everything that comes up here, I'm going to change the value as rupees. Fine. All have been changed to rupee. Let me convert it to full figure or full integer. So the annual value here will be is equal to the value of the monthly salary. I'm not going to lock it here. I'm going to pull it down. Subsequently, I can even choose to lock it by choosing $C and 4. So I can make the column fixed, but no, it's not necessary, it's not essential. So by using your intelligent quotient and your applications, you will have to decide where to and what to can be calculative and what can be made mixed or what can be mixed fixed. Well, with this, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply it by 12. I have the value here in this cell, and this 12 value is going to remain constant whatever it happens. So I'm going to use function F4 to fix this cell. Once done, I'm going to say enter. And there it is. The annual salary of this fellow is 180,000. Or if I speak in Indian language, it is 1,80,000. Well, how much is the annual increment? Let me go over here. The annual increment of this person is 5%. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over here and say is equal to the salary plus 5% of the increment. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to choose to lock this cell or to choose this cell as input D4, and now I'm going to pull this cell down. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use function F4 to see that $D4 remains here, plus how much? I have to add here 5%. So I'm going to say 5% of what? Of the same thing of this cell. There it is, 5% of, I have to say, multiplied by this cell. Well, and now I'm going to lock it with again saying D4, or I'll leave it as relative. Should I or should I not? Well, I will lock it. So I'm going to make it D4. Well, that's it. If I say enter, there it is. The increment value or the annual value with increment has popped up. So here I have used two cells or two references, and both are mixed ones. So now what do I do here? So now I'm going to go over here, and here I'm going to say is equal to. Now what is it equal to? It is nothing else but the annual salary along with the increment, that is this value, divided by. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this E cell, or if I will opt to choose to keep it relative, should not matter, plus, or it is going to be division by the 12 months. So I'm going to choose this cell and say function F4. So there it is. This is the incremental monthly salary of this fellow. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down this cell. So what happens with this? There it is. The value has popped up, and quite obvious, this value or the annual salary of year 2011, that is 2011, will be equal to the incremented value of 2010, and so on and so forth. So if the again the next year's increment is 5%, there it is, the values have popped up correctly. And with this, now I'm sure with my functions and formulae and the referencing is correct, I'm going to pull down these cells as they are. Well, there it is. So the fellow's salary for every year along with increment is there. I have used the references correctly. I have seen, I have chosen where to use the fixed, where to use relative, and where to use the mixed one. Now the next thing is the salary of this supervisor is 5% more than the junior, that is 1.05 times. So what I'm going to do is here is I'm going to say is equal to 1.05. I'm going to lock it, or it will even do if I don't lock it. But well, I like to prefer to lock it, plus what, into the salary of this fellow, correct? So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lock the row 4. So function F4, there it is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this function or this cell towards the right. So when I pull it to the right, I want the column to change, but the row should remain the same, correct? When I pull it, you will understand what I mean by that. So this is the incremental value or the value of the supervisor, annual value of the supervisor salary for that year. So I'm going to say enter, and there it is. So this will be the value of the salary of the supervisor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it to the right side. But well, when I pull it to the right side, what do I see here? Let me double click it. So now what is it? It is 10% more than the supervisor's salary. So now what has happened is the supervisor's salary appears in the cell F4, and that is what has appeared here. So when I pulled the cell to the right, it took up the salary of the supervisor from the cell F4, and it has referenced to F4, but it has gone into the column G4. But well, there is some difference here. Now it is 1.1 times the salary of the supervisor. So what I do need to change here is I need to change the value of this cell from O3 to O4, and that has to be a fixed one. There it is. So that correction has been done. So corresponding cell has to be chosen accordingly, and then we have to go ahead with the next cell. The next cell now has got reference from G4, that is this cell. If I want to highlight it for your sake, there it is. From this cell it has gone over here, and there it is. Fine. So this cell has come up as senior manager salary, and the senior manager salary is 1.15 times, that is cell O5. Well, that is a mistake here. So O3 is not what is required. I can opt to pull this cell over here and pull it down here. So I have chosen the cell O5, and that is locked. So well, this is very much in front of you what I have done here. I have made this cell as a locked cell as O5. Well, this is how you have to choose where to make which cell fixed, relative, and mixed. So now if you see where I wanted to drag it to the right side or to the left side, I have made the column variable whereas the row fixed. And when I want to drag it up and down, I have made the column fixed and the row variable. This is how all the values are very much available with us. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down this value, but well, what is it going to do is now I have to change the references. Instead of E4, now I require it to be F4. Well, I can either pull it down or I can go back and say delete this, and I'm going to pull this value over here by saying is equal to this cell function F4 into this cell, and now I'm going to use function F4. I want to drag it to the right side. So as the rule I mentioned earlier, the row will remain locked or fixed, whereas the column will be variable. So this is the correct function or formula I have used. I should say it's a formula because it's a simple multiplication. I'll say enter, and there it is. The value of the supervisor in the year 2021 will be this. And now I'm going to pull it to the right. Well, when I pulled it to the right, certainly I have to go over here and change this value of the cell. Now one can opt to change this value by making it variable or mixed, but well, two mixes cannot work in the single cell. So either you can make a mix or a variable value of row or a column one at a time. You cannot make both the values variable, or else you have to put it relative. But well, when you pull it to the right, if had I made this cell Q4 as relative, it would have created a mistake when I pulled it to the right side. It would have then let us do it and see it by ourselves. So I'm making it relative cell, say enter, and when I pull it to the right, there it is. It gives a value as a error because I'll double click it so you'll understand what has happened here. So it has got pulled over here. It has got pulled over here, and that is not correct, right? So to avoid this mistake, be careful when it should be variable and when it should be fixed. So keeping this fixed was a very sensible method that I had picked up, and when I pull it here, I need to make it O5 as a fixed one. So there it is. So in this way, one can go on defining the fixed and the relative functions as per the requirement and fulfill the requirement of defining the Excel functions. Well, with this demo, I think the remaining portion you can practice on your own. The remaining 3 years, you can go and find out yourselves what is the, or what will be, or what would have been the value of the annual salary of the supervisor, manager, and the senior manager. Well, I leave it to you for practice. I hope this video has been useful to you, was informative, and with practice, you'll be able to use the cell references correctly as per the optimum requirement of your applications. Well, if you like this video, I'll again request you as ever to put your thumbs up and express your likes at the YouTube channel. If you find this video useful for your friends, colleagues, or anyone, do share this video or this reference to the friend. And if you are not subscribed, again I repeat, do subscribe the channel. I'll be soon back with another topic in my next video. Keep tuned, keep in touch, keep excelling. Goodbye.